Welcome to Module 9, Execute the Plan, or what we call the Do It phase. This is where everyone executes and starts doing the work that's required in order to make the deliverables. But from a project management standpoint, really the area where we monitor, control, and make adjustments. We monitor what people are doing, we control it and make sure and come up with some sort of evaluation of are they doing it within time, within scope? And then we make adjustments to ensure that we are on schedule and on time. We're going to go through some of the principles of executing a plan. We're going to determine or show you how we determine the health of a project. We're going to talk about effective project meetings, and we're going to talk about the change management process. So first off, our principles of executing a plan. Plans have some structure around them. They have some guidelines, if you want, to ensure that we're executing a plan, that we get the work done. Let's now go over some of the principles. Work is authorized and performed according to an approved plan. What this basically means is no work is done unless it is already on an approved plan. Information is collected to determine the current status of the project with respect to the plan. So you can't control anything, can't monitor anything, you can't adjust anything unless you know what is being done currently. So you should have some sort of system, whether it's an information system or whether it's a manual system, where people actually inform you of what work they've actually achieved and what they are planned to achieve and what they've actually achieved. Variances between the plan and actual statuses are identified and analyzed. So basically what we're saying here is we collect the information, we know what we said we're going to do, we know what we actually did, we look at those two things, and we analyze that to see if there's any corrective action that we can actually do. Causes for variances are identified. So if there's a variance, whether it's a plus or minus, whether it's good or bad, we always identify what that variance is. And only after we've identified the variance, only and if necessary, we develop a course of action to take some corrective actions towards the variance. Our recommended corrective actions are reviewed and approved and then implemented. So although we may find a variance or maybe we may have a plan, it still has to go through approval process to make sure that it has a positive impact to what we're trying to do instead of a negative one. So no corrective action is carried out without it being approved. Project plans, including the baselines, are updated and communicated. So whenever there's a change, whenever you monitor and you control it, and you make some sort of adjustment, you then take that adjustment and you add it to your baseline, so you have a running score or a running view of how your project is today. Those are the principles of project execution. Now that you have an overview of the principles, I want to tell you a truth about the principles. They're all based on you gathering information about what is actually taking place when you're executing the project. If you cannot collect the information about what is being done in this phase of the project, then you cannot monitor, control, or adjust based on what was actually completed. You can guess, and I only have one thing to say: good luck with this. So reality is, if you can't track what is actually taking place, which people are actually doing, it's probably a wasted effort to do monitoring, controlling, and adjustments in this phase. Just let it happen. Just like Nike says, just do it. Now, when we talk about baseline or baselines, consist of these 5 elements. Where should the project be in terms of time, cost, and scope in any given reporting period? So you always need to know at any point in time, where should the project actually be? Where is the project at this reporting time? And what are the current variances, if any, from what we said we're going to be or where we're going to be and where we actually are? And where's the project heading? And will it get there? What, if anything, should be done? So those are the 5 questions you need to answer as the project is rolling out or the project is getting done. The items are getting done to make the deliverables. Now, in order for us to answer those questions, we need to look at some performance measurements. We need to look at the scope variance, the schedule variance, and the cost variance. So the scope variance is simply this: what you plan to do and what you have done at whatever point in time that you're doing your project health and status. Schedule is planned completion date versus actual completion date. For every task you have, what date did you say you're going to complete it, and what date did you actually complete it? And we look at our cost variance, which is basically the plan personnel costs, the resource costs, and the actual personnel costs. And the expenses, the same is true there. The plan expenses versus the actual expenses. So in order for you to have a picture of the health of your project, you need to know the scope, what you said you're going to do, the schedule, how long it's going to take you, and the cost to perform this particular task at any point in time. There are two more performance measures that we consider. One is the quality variance. And when we talk about quality variance, we're talking about what our planned quality was and what our actual quality is. What standard are we delivering, or are we producing the deliverables to? And we need to say, this is what we planned, this is what we're actually doing, and do a comparison to those two items. Next, we have one of my favorites, one is hours of effort. I like hours of effort compared to cost, because cost is really a multiplication of hours of effort times a certain rate. Rates can always change. So the hours of effort is something that I like to see for each task. Basically, the planned hours of effort versus the actual hours of effort. So those are the two final things that we do from a performance standpoint. And you do that throughout at whatever period of time that you want to report the status or the health of your particular project. You just go through and answer those particular questions based on the work that's been done to date. So let's just summarize the steps for the do it phase. First of all, step 1, there's work gets done. Work gets assigned, people do the work. Step 2, work is monitored and controlled. Step 3, work is evaluated. Step 4, if necessary, a plan for corrective action is created. Step 5, corrective action plan is approved. Step 6, corrective action plan is implemented only if and when approved. And step 7, the project baseline is updated and communicated. Those are the 7 steps we go through as part of the management of the project and the do it phase, where we're actually conducting the work to create the deliverables. Work gets done, monitor, control, we evaluate, we analyze, we make a plan if we need corrective action, we then get that plan approved, we then implement that particular plan, and then we update all of our baseline documents from there. Now, I'm just going to briefly mention some other processes that should take place in the do it phase of it. As we implement the plan, as people do the work, there are some things that are going to happen. There's going to be some decisions that are going to be made. There's going to be some action items. There are going to be issues that come up. Those are all things that we have templates for, and you get that in the resource area of this particular course, and you can see how they're laid out. But you want to capture those decisions. You want to capture your action items. You want to assign them to people. You want to look at your issues and address those. And they're the kind of things that are continuous as you have your meetings, and you want to make sure that you address them and allocate them off to somebody for resolution. As the things are getting done in this phase of the project, the do it phase of the project, we need to determine what the project health is. What we're going to talk about in the next couple of slides is how you go about getting that information so you can inform people of what the health of your project is. So to determine the project health or the health of a project, it can be done by gathering information from a multitude of different areas. For example, the first one is MBWA, which really stands for Management by Walking Around. So one of the things you can actually do as a project manager, you can actually go and visit the people that are doing the work and just simply say to them, how are things going? They'll be more than happy to tell you how things are going, and then you can make adjustments from there. So it gives you an insight into how people are feeling about the project. You can have the standard project project status report meetings where you bring everybody in, and we'll talk about that in the next section about conducting meetings. You can do status templates and send the templates out to each one of your workers, everybody that's working on there, and they can fill it out and send it back to you. You can do what's called a deliverable review, only look at the health of the project at deliverables when we create a deliverable, or on a milestone review, and there's other ways that you can do it. It really depends on the frequency, the importance of the project, and what sort of information system you have in order to gather the actual results of work being done in this phase. End of this video. Up next is effective meetings and the change management process.